To the surprise of absolutely nobody, The Acolyte has been canceled. Good shows get canceled all the time. I personally don't consider The Acolyte to be a good show, but, I suppose there's some people out there who probably do. Anyway, got a story here from thatparkplace.com. The Acolyte stands meltdown and blame racist, sexist people after the show was reportedly scrapped. Viewership data was abysmal. Deadline reported it. The report came after Nielsen released its data for the week. The Acolyte series finale aired. The show only managed to garner 335 million minutes watched. That was less than a two-episode premiere, which brought in 488 million minutes watched. It had the least minutes watched of any live-action Star Wars series finale on Disney+. There was also a significant decline in reviews per episode of the series on IMDb. The first episode received 26,000 reviews, while the finale only received 11,000. Now, one thing I will say, though, is that, as it mentions here, 45.8% of all reviews were a 1 out of 10. That's the kind of thing where you got to be a little careful because, there's people out there, if you're going to review bomb, the old dreaded review bomb, either negatively or positively, you're going to give it a 1 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10. I'm not saying that you shouldn't take them seriously, but as you can see, those are like the most common numbers, 1 or 10. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that all these reviews are fake or anything not of any nature, because the show was bad. But anyway, and reaction has been what you would expect. Genuinely insane to me, by the way. Fuck the racist, sexist people who couldn't share a single brain cell and turn an eye away to what they didn't like. The review bombing and harassing that so many committed without even watching, it's insane to me. Renew the Acolyte. I don't know about that. Others seemingly believe that the show had incredible viewership, despite the opposite being the case. I need to hear it from Star Wars themselves. I need to explain why they're canceling the only show with a predominantly non-white, queer cast that had incredible viewership from audiences that would never have tuned into Star Wars previously. Sounds like horse shit to me, but okay. Also, this just fuels a toxic side of the fandom into thinking that if they hate on something enough, they can get it canceled. This is not a W for the community. Canceled over misogyny and racism, by the way, because this could have easily been one of the best current Star Wars content we're going to get. And it just went on and on. I'll link this in the description box and read it for yourself. Because, there's a lot. There's a lot of this stuff. Star Wars content been the same boring blaster pew pew media for years, and we finally get a show diving into the Jedi Sith lore, and you all get it canceled because the lead wasn't the white man. Blah, blah, blah. Yay, the idiots won. I've got an article here from a website called HollywoodandToto.com. I don't know a whole lot about them, but I appreciate how aggressive, I guess we can say that they are, because they're just saying it. Corrupt media couldn't save the Acolyte from cancellation. Talking about how Variety, they would give it good reviews. All these mainstream places. IGN went wild. Oh, they're awesome. The show's incredible. I thought the show sucked, to be quite honest. I thought it was terrible. Anyway, the series doubled down on Disney's progressive agenda from the cast, aggressive diversity, the creation of a lesbian witch coven. That's, I appreciate them being super out front with just the reality of it. This, I'm not bothered by the lesbian witch coven or whatever. Did I roll my eyes at it? Sure. But it wasn't a huge deal where I'm like, that is enough to make the show god awful terrible. It's even if you took all the woke stuff out of the Acolyte, it was a terrible show. It was just a bad show. Period. That's all there is to it. And we can go through, reasons on and on and on. And, other people have probably done a better job, probably done a more, granular job and stuff, going bit by bit, detail by detail. There was just parts with a part that always stands out to me. Not a huge deal in the grand scheme of things, but just kind of indicative of the stupidity that went on in the show, was when that girl gave herself the lightsaber haircut. It's huh? You put the lightsaber basically on your head, and you raise up with it, cutting a bunch of your hair off. That's what? That would what? It's just idiotic. But anyway, and it goes on, and it talks about some of the very things wrong with this series and stuff. For all those reasons, Star Wars fans rejected the series, amplified by YouTube critics like Nerdrotic and Critical Drinker. If the pattern feels familiar, it should. Modern journalists no longer share their news as it happens. They sculpt narratives based on their liberal biases, attacking readers along the way. It's why serious journalists insisted video evidence of President Joe Biden's cognitive decline were mere cheap fakes, created by evil Republicans to take down a leader destined to grace Mount Rushmore. I mean, yeah, that's like, you can't argue with that pretty much. It's like we've known that was happening. Now, specifically speaking about stuff like this, they were trying to gaslight people into believing that there's tons of people watching and there's this huge interest in the show and stuff. And apparently, everyone when people would say things like this show isn't for you, the Acolyte isn't for you, white man, it's not for you, straight man, or whatever. And the white man, the straight man, whoever would say, okay, all right, I'm not going to watch it. I don't care much for the show. And what happens? It's got no views. Oh, gee, funny how that works. When you cater to the smallest, most vocal minorities groups possible, and then you turn around and you say, well, what happened? Why are a bunch of people watching our shows? Oh, gee, I wonder. It's like, I'm not saying that we need to just cater to white men or anything of that nature. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying you can be inclusive without being like basically dismissive of other groups. Like if you want to try to bring more people of color, more women into like traditionally male dominated or white male dominated spaces, you can do it without pushing aside those white male, viewers, customers, readers, whatever you want to call them. You can do that. You can be inclusive. You can open up and say we're for more than just the white man or whatever. We're also for you as well. You can cater to for instance, people of color as well as white people at the same time with the same series. It happens all the time. It's absurd to think that you have to do something very specifically, that you have to push away all the white people in order to get the coveted people of color. It's ridiculous. Anyway, I'm starting to ramble a little bit, so I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'll link both these in the description box and read them for yourself. I mean, the articles themselves, to varying degrees, are worth it. They're both good reads. They're not very long. That Park Place goes into more like granular detail and stuff, but they're both worth reading. It only takes a few minutes each or whatever. But anyway, like I said, I'll link this in the description box and read it for yourself. Thank you very much for watching, and